You bring up your own experience. Are there some other elements from your own experience where St. Joseph comes into play?
Yes, Father. You mentioned at the beginning of the program, you know, my sordid past, you know, well, what you just said, I can verify in my own life. You know, I grew up in a very tumultuous family. My mother separated, you know, from my biological father and then remarried, and then that didn't work out, and then she remarried again. So I had several fathers, and the first two that I had, they were far from St. Joseph. They, you know, and I think partly I had to make my own choices, of course, but I went down a very bad path because I didn't have a fatherly role model in my life. But it was when
you were expelled by law from Japan.
I got kicked out of the country of Japan. Yeah, I was a pretty bad guy. But then my mother...
And how old were you when you got...
I was 15 going on 16 when I got deported. Yeah.
Now that's high levels of trouble.
Oh, I was big time. Yeah, I mean, I had long hair down to my waist practically, and I was a mess. Went to 2 rehabs, was incarcerated and everything. But then a man came into my mother's life who adopted me, and he to me is my Joseph in many ways. I mean, I have his last name, Calloway. I love that man. He's my dad. And I call him, you know, my Joseph. I dedicated one of my books to him, and I told him that he's my St. Joseph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that not only do I think we need to understand St. Joseph as a model for us, for men in particular, women also, but there's also this need for us to be like St. Joseph in the face of so many dads abandoning their children. Others of us need to step in and be fathers who are not looking for anything. That's not what fathers do. Fathers give of themselves for the sake of their kids. And that this is a call for the mature men of the church to become more mature and imitate St. Joseph in reaching out to young men or young women who just don't know a dad.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Father. And, you know, as priest, we do a lot of ministry with everyone, you know, and I hear oftentimes from a lot of the ladies that come to talk to me, you know, we hear about this father wound, right? And that the way that the father spoke of her or put her down and said things about her that, you know, horrible things that stayed and really wounded her. You know, you're overweight. Why don't you look like this person? Or what about this? That really wounds a girl's heart, makes her insecure. And we see that played out in society when young ladies today are crying out for affirmation because they probably didn't get it from their father.
Sure.